Welcome to the Global Network webinar, and my name is Yuxi, and I will be moderating this webinar today together with my colleagues Sean Lovell and Alex is on leave. And today we are really happy to have with us Professor Qunli Han from the International Research Center of Big Data for Sustainable Development Goals, CBAS in China, who will be talking about harnessing big data to support the SDGs. So we will first start here the opening statements given by Assistant Director of the United Nations Statistics Division, Mr. Ronald Jensen, who specifically supports the work of UN Global Working Group on Big Data for official statistics, the UN Global Platform and its regional hub. And then the opening statement given by Ms. Cecil Blake, who is in charge with geospatial information in the United Nations Statistics Division. So, Mr. Ronald, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Yuxi, and very glad to have Professor Qunli here today with us. I will be very brief in my opening remarks. Just want to mention that we very happy that China is supporting the work on sustainable development goals very much, as can be seen by the opening of 3 centers recently in China. So one, and I think Cecile will say more about that, is the UN Global Geospatial Knowledge and Innovation Center in Diqin, China, from the geospatial community. The International Research Center of Big Data for the Sustainable Development Goals in Beijing, China, and Professor Qunli will speak about that from the Chinese Academy of Sciences, and then the UN Regional Hub for Big Data in Hangzhou, China. That's a regional hub which is supported by the international statistical community, in which we are trying to innovate working with new data sources, new methods and applications to improve both monitoring of the SDG as well as improving official statistics in general. The regional hub for big data in China started in December 2020. Because of COVID, we haven't been able to have in-person activities yet in Hangzhou. We hope to do so. We are working with our colleagues of the National Bureau of Statistics of China in making this regional hub available for the statistical community, especially, of course, for statistical offices in Asia and the Pacific. But in general, we would like the whole global statistical community work on data innovation, including this regional hub for big data. We will have in April 2023, so in exactly 1 year from now, the next World Data Forum in Hangzhou, China, and we hope at that point to showcase a number of data innovation projects taking place at the regional hub for big data in Hangzhou. But today we really would like to hear about the International Research Center of Big Data for Sustainable Development Goals in Beijing, China. And I stop there. Yuxi, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ronald. And now I can give the floor to Ms. Cecil Blake. Please go ahead.
A pleasant good morning. Greetings from the UNSD in New York to all participants across all time zones. My colleagues Greg and Chia extends their regrets for not being able to be here with you. They're both unavoidable because of work commitments. Thanks to my colleagues for inviting the Global Geospatial Information Management Unit to share with attendees what the United Nations Committee of Experts on Global Geospatial Information Management, UNGGIM, has been doing over the past 10 years and 8 months to be exact. Yes, we're a young subsidiary body of ECOSOC to support state members of the UN to collect, manage, and use geospatial information to make informed policies and better decisions, which of course support national development activities, including achieving the Sustainable Development Goals and recovery from COVID-19. Of course, you may know that geospatial information data is information that describes object, events, and other features with a location on or near the surface of the Earth, right? And geospatial data typically combines local information and attribute information. And geospatial data is just all around us. And we can gain geospatial data from diverse sources. Now we're integrating statistics and geospatial data, but of course, geospatial data include environmental information, natural resources, satellite imagery, weather, cell phone data, imageries. That means CAD drawing, social media, big data. So geospatial data is what I like to say ubiquitous, and it is most useful because the systems allow us to integrate multiple data sets where they can be discovered, shared, analyzed, and we're able to predict, monitor, warn, understand relationships and changes that affect us in our environment. And of course, it makes our operations more efficient in what we do. UNGGIM has been focused on developing frameworks, overarching policy guidance, principles, methods, and reports to enable our member states to integrate and strengthen their national geospatial information management arrangements according to their national circumstances. The overarching framework that this group of experts have prepared is the United Nations Integrated Geospatial Information Framework, which we refer to as IGIF. This framework is a guide and a mechanism for developing, integrating, strengthening, and maximizing geospatial information management capacities and capabilities to assist countries in bridging the geospatial digital divide. It comprises three separate but connected documents. One, it's the overarching framework, and then part two is 9 different sets that we call the implementation guide that focuses on things like data, finance, government institutions, and a number of elements that are important to support countries in creating their geospatial and managing their geospatial information frameworks. And of course, part 3 is the country level action plan. These are the plans that countries own because they create, and it is used to roll out their geospatial initiatives. So this is our overarching framework under which other frameworks that we have created is underpinned. So we have I'm sure you're aware of the SDGs geospatial roadmap that was just recently adopted at the Statistical Commission, and of course the Global Statistical Geospatial Framework. I don't need to say anything about that, but our division, and with the support of the statisticians and other supporters, have prepared those documents. And of course, we have other flagship frameworks that sits under the IGIF, and those are like the Framework for Effective Land Administration, which is about effective land administration that provides humanity with better access to security of land and property rights. So you understand that geospatial is very ubiquitous. It is everywhere. And of course, a most important framework that we had approved early in the life of UNGGIM was the Global Geodetic Reference Frame, which provides the foundation for our policy decisions because it is the authoritative, reliable, high accuracy, and global spatial referencing infrastructure, which includes celestial and terrestrial reference frame products, which underpins all aspects related to the provision of accurate location. So if we don't have this reference frame operating, we will not have our X and Y coordinates and our GPS systems working properly. Okay, our GNS systems, I should say. And of course, we have other frameworks, which I will not refer to. You can visit our website. We have the strategic framework for information and services to disasters. We do a lot of work in standards, supported by our standards body. And of course, our substance, alongside our substantive work that GGIM does, we have numerous international workshops and forums to promote comprehensive dialogue on global geospatial information management. And of course, Ronald referenced earlier, to help to strengthen our interlinkages, pardon me, and capacity building, with the support of a number of member states, China, we have been putting in place the necessary things to establish the United Nations Global Geospatial Innovation Center in Deakin, China. And the objective is to develop capacity, promote and support the required innovation, leadership, coordination, and standards to develop, strengthen, integrate, and deliver national geospatial information policy systems, tools, services to support national governments. And of course, we're also working to create the United Nations Global Geodetic Center of Excellence at the UN campus in Bonn, Germany. It has required, both these centers have required quite a bit of work, but I think we're getting there. And it is envisaged that this center will enhance global cooperation and coordination to strengthen the geodetic infrastructure that we have. And I would like to also, sorry, I know I've gone over my 2 minutes, but I would like to mention that last year in July, on the margins of the high level political forum, we announced the SDG Data Alliance. And this Data Alliance, right, we will accelerate the achievement of the SDGs, we hope, by creating 17 or more SDG data hubs across nations in Latin America, Asia, Africa, and Europe. And it's based on geospatial frameworks and technologies, and that these data hubs will assist countries to measure, monitor, and report the SDGs in a geographic context. Okay, in conclusion, I'd like to tell you about our second United Nations World Geospatial Information Congress, which will be held the 10th to the 14th of October 22 at the Hyderabad International Convention Center in India. And it is being hosted in collaboration with the government of India through the Ministry of Science and Technology. So look out for more information on that. And thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this webinar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your pretty comprehensive introduction of the work in the geospatial information of United Nations CC6 division. And now let me just tell you a bit more about our speaker today, Professor Qunli Han. He chairs the working group on Big Earth data for the SDGs in the International Research Center of Big Data for Sustainable Development Goals. He is also the executive director of the Integrated Research on Disaster Risk International Program Office. He worked a long time for UNESCO Science Mission at duty station of Jakarta, Paris, and Tehran. His last position in UNESCO was the Secretary of Man and the Biosphere Program and the Director of Division of Ecological and Earth Science. So a couple of practical things. So first of all, we will hear the presentation of our speaker, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end. And during the presentation, please feel free to write comments and questions into the meeting chat anytime. And during the Q&A, please ask the question yourself, or if you wish, we can also ask the question for you. So just let us know. As always, this Global Network webinar is being recorded and will be made available on the Global Network of Data Officers and the citizen at yammer.com/UNstats. We invite you to continue the discussion on the Global Network after the webinar. So now let me pass the floor to Professor Qunli. The floor is yours now. Thank you.
Thank you, Yishi. Thank you, Ronald and Cecile, for the very warm and good introduction of the webinar and all the work that you have in the United Nations. My name is Qunli Han. I'm the professor in the center of the CBAS, and going to present the work of the International Center of big data for sustainable development for SDGs. It's very happy that to meet you, but also the colleagues across time zones, since I have also worked almost 3 decades for the United Nations mission. So I will go straight forward for the presentation. Can you see the screen, Yushi?
Yes, I can see your screen. Thanks.
Okay. So the title is the CBAS, that is the International Research Center of Big Data for Sustainable Development Goals. It's about to harness the big data for supporting SDGs. And I have this presentation, the 3 components of contents. First is a general introduction about the CBAS. And secondly, the examples of CBAS work for SDGs, 6 SDGs. Then some slides about the global partnership and engagement. So this is the first part. In 2020, that the president of China, Xi Jinping, announced at the 75th session of UNGA that China will set up an international research center of big data for sustainable development to facilitate the implementation of 2030 agenda for sustainable development. The President Xi and UN Secretary General both sent congratulatory letters to the CBAS launch, which was the September last year, 2021. The President Xi says that the science, technology, innovation, and application for big data will help international community to overcome difficulties and implement the UN 2030 agenda globally. Secretary General said that the research center will work side by side with the regional hub for big data to support the UN global platform. Together, we can do more to end poverty, protect the planet, and promote peace. The 3 Under Secretary Generals for Economics and Social Affairs, for the United Nations Environment Programs, and also for the Commission of Combating Desertification, send their own messages expressing their support to the center, but looking forward to the collaboration in the future. The vision of CBAS works toward a vision where data is open and accessible across borders and disciplines. Technology is available to support the entire policy-making process, and the knowledge and ideas are communicated and grown, especially among developing countries. So this is the overall mission of this new International Research Center on Big Data for SDGs. The CBAS has the mission have the following 4 major the mandate: develop SDG data infrastructure and the information and the data products. And it provides the new technology for SDG monitoring and evaluations. The CBAS will develop and launch a series of SDG satellites, and also, like many of the UN agencies, the programs are doing in capacity building for SDGs, especially for developing countries. In terms of technical or human capacity of the CBAS, this is where we are now. It is a leading interdisciplinary and cross-sector research team with 33 Chinese Academy of Science institutes engaged, 96 participating organizations, and over 1,200 scientists are working in this big mission. There's a good setting nationally, but also internationally, to bring the best scientists to guide the directions and the programs of the CBAS. And the International Advisory Committee of CBAS is chaired by Professor Gretchen Kalonji, the former Assistant Director General for Natural Sciences of UNESCO. And the Vice Chair, Mr. He Chang-Chui, is the Vice Chairperson of Academic Committee of Academy of Digital China. And he used to be the Deputy Director General of FAO. And Stefano Nativi, the senior researcher of the National Research Council of Italy, and some 18 IAC members across the world that who have the expertise and are influential in the big data, Earth observation, and SDG related research. SDG Big Data Platform have a tailored service up to now for scientists. There are 4 online indicator calculation for 6.61 on water, on the urbanization process, land use efficiency, on forest, and on land degradation. It also has the service for the decision makers through the provision of SDG data products, such as the surface water, forest cover, land productivity, but it also gives a lot of information for the general public. This slide shows the overall data collection so far. It has 11 PB total amount of data of the 40 years of satellite image with the many data on the Earth observation, but also on the biology, ecology, and Earth sciences. And this data is growing very rapidly. Every year, each year, it is about 3 PB will be updated, added to the platform. And as of September last year, more than 280,000 users from 170 countries has access to this system. Of course, it's a new system, but the number is growing quite fast. Well, CBAS use all the service and satellite data now globally available, but China itself have already, as shown here, the 6 satellite platforms on the meteorological data, natural resources satellite, ocean observation, disaster risk reduction, the global positioning, and the high resolution satellite, and then the new series of SDG data. The new one, the first one was launched November 5th last year, which has the thermal infrared and the night time light and the multispectral the sensors, which is the new satellite. We expect the data will be made available in the second half of this year, 2022. And the design of the new launch of the new satellite for SDG purpose will continue. As here are the 3 images showing the colored glimmer image of Beijing, the multispectral image of Intrep Yellow River, and also the infrared image of one region in Xinjiang. Now, there are some major achievements that I want to mention here. Since 2019, and we have the center has produced a series of SDG reports focusing on the 6 SDGs: SDG 2 on zero hunger, on water, SDG 6, sustainable cities and communities, SDG 11, climate action 13. Life below water, SDG 14, and life on land, SDG 15. This report has been launched at the United Nations General Assembly by the Chinese government. The CBAS, the work also made the evaluation according to along the 20 indicators of ICDs of the above mentioned the 6 SDGs, and to see China itself, the progress along these 6 Sustainable Development Goals. It's interesting that it shows that of the 20 evaluated indicators, China is close to or has met 4 of them, where the others are many of them still challenging, but the progress are being made. CBAS is supporting China's the volunteer national report and making contributions. And in this regard, we work with the ministries and with National Statistics Bureau. A number of global studies like the global land cover change on the global net ecosystem productivity, global ocean heat contents, the dynamic change of water body in Ramsar site. Ramsar is a convention that on the wetland of importance. Assessment of change in global crop water use efficiency and high resolution monitoring a global mountain green cover index, which has produced quite interesting and the most update the data products. And these are already available at the CBAS global platform. For those who are interested, you can access to these data products. Now I wanted to give you some examples of CBAS work for SDGs. First is about the SDG 2.31, spatial distribution of classes of farmland sites and agricultural productivity in Zambia. And this study has looked at the spatial distribution of the Zambia's crop production land and show the rapid growth in the past 10 years and making it a net green explorer. And with big Earth data, more reasonable agricultural development policies could be developed, taking into account the environment conditions and geographic conditions, and then could be increase the agricultural output of Zambia and make Zambia a more important food supplier in South Africa in future. The assessment of progress toward sustainable cropping systems, the case of China, also shows that the main agricultural products, the crops, with their in terms of the water efficiency, in terms of the carbon emission, etc. That show how they are supporting and constituting a more sustainable food supply system in China. This is a regional study to monitor the desert locust in Africa and Asia. As many of you has heard that this kind of natural disaster has happened. And the center has been carrying out research to monitor the desert locust co-breeding areas and the mitigation route in the year 2018-20. And in Asia and Africa, especially in some severely damaged countries like in Pakistan, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, and Yemen. The results were adopted by FAO to support multi-country joint pest prevention and control to ensure agricultural production. In fact, the CBAS has a lot of work about the pest, the alien species also for and they're impacted for agricultural productivity. In the SDG 6 related to water, the big Earth data for clean water and the sanitation, the CBAS team has been focusing the 3 indicators. That is 632, the proportion of the bodies of water with good ambient water quality, 4.1 change in water use efficiency over time, and indicators 6 0.61 change in the extent of water-related ecosystem over time. And here's the study about the special temporal patterns of water transparency in China's lakes. As you can see that there's improvement, a gradual improvement over time about the proportion of lakes with different water clarity levels. And then it shows also the distribution pattern that from the far west to the far east of China in terms of the water bodies transparency and clarity. The change on the natural and artificial water bodies in China from year 2000 to 2020. That also shows that the dynamic changes of the artificial water bodies, reservoirs, and the ponds and the other water bodies, and the natural bodies changes over the time, over the 2 decades. This study shows the temporal and spatial distribution of the surface water transparency in the Belt Road region. That about 65 countries, their distribution of the surface water transparency had been studied by the center. And this is the rate of the status of the center. And of course, we see on the top that in New Zealand, that's the best, the water quality, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Macedonia, Indonesia, etc. Then it goes down to the other countries, some countries in Africa, like the Chad, or in Asia, the Cambodia, and so on. That's the water, the transparency is poor. SDG 6.61, dynamic changes of water body in Ramsar site. This is to show that from 2000 to 2018, 50% of the Ramsar site in Asia, and Europe, and Africa exhibit a trend of significant change, and most of them, 58%, are upward trend. So there's an increase of the Ramsar site. In the cities, the urban area, big data for urban sustainability, the major concern were driving forces for the cities are the migration, the city traffic, ecosystem, and the energy consumption, the social economic structure changes, and so on. And these in the CBAS so far has looked at the 8 themes in the urban issues: the urban public transportation, a road network, open public space, heritage protection, urbanization, pollution, public health, and disaster prevention and mitigation. This is the 11.2.1 urban public transport. The project has looked at the urban public transportation system in detail and developed a fine resolution 1 kilometer grid data on the population of China, disgraded by gender, sex, age, and age from 2015 to 2018. The proportion of the population with convenient access to public transportation was 64.28% to increased to 80% 5 in 2018. So there's a improvement in terms of the urban transportation system. The urban road network, that the study look at the road networks of 65 countries across the Belt Road in 2015, 2017, and 2019. The total length of the road has increased by 61.6 times. Average road density increased from 0.58 to the 0.70 kilometers per square kilometers. And Iran, Bulgaria, and China has the highest road connectivity and importance among the 65 countries. Sorry. Then about the urban sprawl and the urbanization, the global urban impervious surface mapping in SURFA SDGs. There's a very good products and the global 10-meter resolution urban impervious surface products acquired in 2015 and 2018 from multiple sources of big Earth data, and it developed an online computing and process toolkit for these ICDG indicators. And it shows that it monitored, look at the 1,500 cities of these 65 countries. And look at the result shows that the ratio of land consumption rate to population growth rate has increased from 1.24 of the 1990s to 2006.67 in 2010 to 2015. So there's a problem because the land city has been growing faster than the population grows. So there's a big challenge. Now, it also study proposed a new SDG indicator that the ratio of economic growth to land consumption rate, called the EGR, LCR, they're coupled with the LCR, PGR to evaluate the spatial temporal evaluation of urbanization in China from the perspective of economic, social, and environment perspectives. So this is trying to create a new indicators. Then on the heritage, as you know that the ICDG system 11.41 indicators increase the capital investment per unit area to protect and safeguard the world cultural and natural heritage. The CBAS team has developed two index. One is called the Urban Intensity Index, UII. The average UI for 79 World Heritage, Cultural Heritage sites in the Belt Road was produced. Then there's the Human Disturbance Index, HDI. About 78% of natural heritage sites has been shown that affected by human disturbance. Gradually, from 1993 to 2016. So the challenge is growing for the natural site. These two index are new addition to the global SDG, the index indicating system. Air pollution, the data to show that the NO2 and the emissions, the data 2019, 2020, the period has been showing that, which is largely related to COVID-19 reduction. Then air pollution PM 2.5 monitoring and analyzing the particular matter PM 2.5 in China, which has been a major concern in the past, but is improving. And then the urban open public space. There's a very interesting product to show that how in China the urban open public areas has been planned and developed and pushed forward. So there's an interesting model that to get the big Earth data, the high performance computing, visual analysis and evaluation to produce the general map. It shows that the share of open public space that in the built areas of Chinese cities has been increasing from 17% or almost 18% to 19.5% of 2018, respectively. On climate change, global terrestrial carbon sink and its driving factors. The CBAS team look at the climate change integrate global climate change measures into the national policies and the strategies and planning. And by looking at the data, it says that the carbon sink estimated by combining the meteorological data, land use data, and soil and vegetation, and has found that about 40% of global carbon sink area changes were attributed to the changes of land use and cover, and 30% are attributed to the climate change effect. This is about the ocean heat contents global mapping. Is also a very interesting data set to see the accumulated the heat in the global ocean and its pattern. A new data set of global ocean heat for upper 2,000 meters from 1993 to 2020, based on the remote sensing, is produced. This will be a very important data set for understanding the global warming process. Then more on the near shore or the shore area, coastal zone, coastal areas, that the project look at the distribution and the variation of the marine debris and the microplastics in China's coastal waters. And it's the abundance of the floating debris in China's coastal waters has been on a decline since 2015. The 2018 floating debris was approximately 25% lower than the average of 3,200 pieces per square kilometers record for the period of 2010-2014 period duration. And so there's an increase in this aspect, improvement in this aspect. Then the integrated eutrophication assessment in the typical coastal waters in China. This look at the number of areas along the coastlines, like the Jiaozhou Bay, the part of the Yellow Sea, and the part of the Eastern Sea that is near the Shanghai. The evaluation of the eutrophic status of the coastal water shows the indicators of both human activities, derived pressures, and ecological responses are relatively important and should be taken into the future coastal management consideration. The eutrophication problems in China's coast in the inner bays and the big estuaries were very serious, where the anthropogenic activities were dense and ecological responses were also serious. So there's a big challenge to manage these estuaries and the inner bays, like the Jiaozhou Bay in the northern China. Monitoring the extent and the dynamic change of mangroves along the marine Silk Road countries. This look at the, as shown on the map, 68, nearly 70% of the Asian countries shows a continuous decreasing trend in the mangrove forests, where in Africa, there's increasing 66% of the increase of the mangroves. And it seems that the economic development, the GDP, has a strong connections with the status of the mangrove as the data shows. It also look at the coastlines changes, which I will move faster. On Sdg 15, the mapping biodiversity of China, that there's a huge database has been developed that help to mapping the biodiversity of China, including the biodiversity hotspot, the species distributions, and how the protection system should be established. The risk and conservation of plant diversity, that there's optimized biodiversity risk index that describes the risk of extinction was proposed. Then in areas facing high risk and high pressures, only 4% are covered by protected areas. Tailored strategies are necessary to address this gap. This is to identify where areas of the biodiversity are abundant, but the national management systems are not yet in place to show the gap and show where the improvement is needed. The studies on the restoration of large carnivorous populations, leopard, also the wolves and the fox, and so on, in the giant panda mountain areas, that China is making great effort in the national park development, and giant panda national park is one of the pioneering cases, and this a big effort to build of connected ecosystems through giant panda national park will provide habitat and favorable conditions also for the carnivorous species. Then this last case, which is about the global land degradation neutrality tracking system. China's land degradation LDN status continue to improve. Compared with 2015, the net restored land area in 2018 increased by 60.3%, and the net restored land areas are amounting about 1/5 of the world total, making the largest contribution to the world agenda. From 2015 to 2018, land productivity shows significant decreasing trend in some regions. And this global map and global data is available at the the CBAS website, but is also taken into account by the UNCCD Secretariat. This third part is about the global partnership and engagement. This is about CBAS. Of course, CBAS is not doing all this work alone, despite its huge expertise and the team. CBAS has the international cooperation through its partners. We have in 57 countries, international organizations that to work together. It has 9 international working groups, the 8 international research centers of excellence, as shown in the map, in Italy, in Moscow, in Morocco, in Pakistan, in Thailand, in Zambia, and in Colombia, in USA. With the United Nations, CBAS has been working very hard, very actively engaged. In fact, CBAS is already one of the 24 partners of UN 2030 Connected platform. Together with UNEP, we are contributing to the UNEP the report and the project on environment-related SDGs. With UN Habitat, the special issue of the future cities and the new economy is going to be published very soon. And with UNCCD, as I mentioned before, that the sharing the data, sharing the research result, and good practice with UNCCD. We look forward to work with the UN statistics and also the geospace, the framework for future. And the capacity building, this is just one example that Big Earth Data in support of SDG in Thailand. The national conference in Thailand, SDGs, and the project application of Big Data, Big Earth Data to support SDG in Thailand. There's a project team, the Asian Institute of Technology, AIT, is working together with the CBAS team. A lot of academic exchanges it will be organized, and the most actually in April this month, in the 26, 27, CBAS will co-organize the BRICS Forum on Big Data for Sustainable Development. So for colleagues who are interested, please join this important the forum organized by 5 academic sciences of the BRIC countries. Thank you very much for your attention. This is the web link of the CBAS. I'm sure Yuxi later on will provide you all with this link. And please do pay a visit to the CBAS website and to know more about this new International Research Center for Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Professor Qunli, for giving this presentation and providing this extensive work done by CBAS on the SDG monitoring nationally and internationally. So now I have allowed the mics and the camera for all attendees for Q&A session. And I can see that Mr. Ronald has a couple of questions being posted in the chat. Ronald, would you like to unmute and ask the questions yourself?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Qunli, for this impressive presentation and the overview of all of the work that CBAS is doing on the SDGs. I think you answered some of my questions in the last slides, but I will ask them anyway. So in terms of international collaboration, so you do work with the custodian agencies on some of these SDG indicators, right? So like FAO on the agriculture, UNEP, UN Habitat, to make sure that the methodologies that are being used in producing the indicators are according to international recommendations. So that was one question. A second question is, if you talk about the CBAS team, do you mean this specifically the team which works from Beijing, or do you see the CBAS team actually as more broadly together with the international colleagues of international centers elsewhere? So I put in the chat the question if the CBAS team includes international experts. So basically I'm asking how the collaboration takes place in producing all of the outputs that we have been seeing. Yeah. So I stop there. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Ronald, for this 2 very good questions. About the sharing the algorithms, models, and the methodologies, this is for sure. Because the basic concept of CBAS, as laid out by Professor Guo Hadong from very beginning, is to make it as part of contribution toward the SDGs through the technical facilitation mechanism, TFM, of UN. And he wasn't one of the members of the 10-person members of that panel. But it's also this under the global call by International Science Council, by UNESCO for open science and for open access. So all the work, including infrastructure, the data products, the models and the algorithms, modelings are supposed to be shared, open and shared for the platform. So that is the principle. Of course, when come to the specific data set or data products, then there may be at a technical different level. And we need to be sure that these things are used in accordance with established rules and regulations. So, but the whole thing about the CBAS, the infrastructure, the data set are made for sharing. That is the first question. And secondly, certainly the team, we do have a quite good team in Beijing, but the Academy of Science of China, CES, has some 50 institutes across countries. So we have the branches in Shanghai, in Shenzhen, in Lanzhou, in Xi'an, in different places. So that is the part of the CBAS team. This is what says the slide shows the 33 institutes already committed. But of course, the CBAS is not just for that. It aims to be the international center. So we are actually recruiting and gradually opening the post positions to have the international researchers coming on board. We start with this international advisory body, but we will have, especially after COVID-19, more international experts coming to work in China. But then the international centers of excellence, already there are around, I'm not sure the exact number, around 10. These centers are already there to work with the CBAS as their CBAS centers. Yeah, I hope Ronan.
Absolutely.
Ronan,
thank you very much. Thank you very much. Very clear. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your answer. And also, I see another question asked by Marta Maria. I'm not sure if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, or I can help you to raise a question.
Yeah, please help. Please help me. Let me see what I can say. Is the data for the presentation and the CBAS data on energy. Do you have any? Okay, I saw that question.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the presentation will be shared, but I need to check with Meng and other colleagues. I think as the PDF version, that's the normal practice. I think it should be able to share and put on the website for download. And certainly there's should be shared with the colleagues in the UN DESA, UN statistics. We do not have a data set yet, but by the end of this year, we will have a work for related with energy, the SDG 7, if I'm not mistaken. That is about the energy SDGs. For this year, we have a few projects. In fact, for 2022, we have over 200 cases by different teams are working there. So SDG 7 will become one of the main active SDG targets by the CBAS Center. But I don't have the result yet. So Marta, that we will come back to you. But please keep your eye on this CBAS Center. And we do have a new addition to the SDG research team on energy. All right.
Okay, thank you very much for that explanation on SDG 7. Yeah, I'm also looking forward to that work. And also from, okay, I just see one chat. Yep. Marta said SDG 7 affordable and clean energy, and energy is
absolutely
also related to
yes,
SDG
yes.
17.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, and I don't see any further question being posted on the chat. And if you have any question, please feel free to raise your hand. Otherwise, I can also see one question being posted from our registration form, which is from Denmark, Jana Tuffy. And I see you also participate in today's webinar. Thank you so much. And I'm not sure if you want to ask a question yourself, or I can also happy to raise a question for you. Please let me know. Maybe I can just.
I think I know the question.
You know the question? Okay.
Yeah, it's about the synergy, right? Streamline the global, regional, and country reporting and the policy use. Is that
right,
the
correct.
question from Denmark?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for
correct.
the question. Yes, I think the big data, as you can see, this is a new, bigger data is to try to maximize the uses of the new technologies, not only remote sensing, but a lot about remote sensing data, but other platforms data, including the new say the source of data from other channels that for the SDGs. And this is certainly in complementary to the existing statistics system, which itself is changing, is improving all the time, and thanks to the digital revolution. Then this streamlining of the SDG reporting and the policy using the data is certainly one objective of the CBAS, but it will address at the different levels. On a global level, by sharing the products like the global land degradation, the global urbanization, the process and the land use efficiency, global biodiversity, climate change, the carbon sink, etc. On the global level, I think there's a lot of need that to get the data being more coherent and consistent, because there's a lot of producers there, and we are aware of that. Then on the regional and the country level, it is more to understand the specific, the social, economic, the cultural, and even the political dynamics of the regional country development, because they are different. There's a diversity of that. So the data should be used to supplement this ongoing process. So the open data platform and open data sharing definitely need the synergies, and the openness, the transparency, the open access is the guarantee for better streamlining and better synergy.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this answer. And sorry, I think our Global Network webinar has a bit run over time, and thank you all for your patience. And I don't see any other question being asked in the chat, and I don't see any hands. So with that, I would like to conclude our Global Network webinar today. And I would like to thank you all to participate this webinar. And just one last thing before we conclude. So we will post our recording along with the presentation on the Global Network of Data Officers and the Citizen. And we now have over 2,300 members on the Global Network with 13 thematic groups for discussion, collaboration, and coordination on specific topics. So please feel free to join this big family and continue your conversation on today's topic there. Okay, and thank you very much for your time, and also thank you for participating in today's webinar. And I hope you have a great day today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ronan, Yushi. Thank you very much.